Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the Musings of Maverick channel. It's your host Maverick. Today we are continuing with the second cour of Spy Family. So hopefully many of you guys have already been here for the first cour. If there are new friends here, well, welcome to join along as well. I won't go into my usual spiel about, how the channel works and whatnot. I mean, I'm sure if that you are going to be watching this, you'll probably start back on episode 1, right? So I'll just leave it at that. And once again, welcome all of you guys who were already here before. So anyways, about the series, right? So since this is actually supposed to be, I guess it was originally supposed to be just a back-to-back season, but due to COVID and all that, they had to like redo some schedules and so on and so forth, production and whatnot, which is good in a sense, right? At least they're taking the time to put out a quality product, right? And this one certainly deserves a quality product. So that's why this is also episode 13 and not like season 2 episode 1. So let's think about it a little bit, right? I need to also reacquaint myself with what happened in the last episode. I didn't actually go back and watch the first season before this. I believe we were on the verge. Okay, so Anna was she got her first Stella, right? Saving the little kid in the pool. She got her first Stella, even though she also got her first what's it called, a bolt, I think, right? So a negative and a positive, and apparently she's supposed to be getting like a reward, which is, I guess, supposed to be a dog, and not just any dog, but a dog with psychic abilities at that, which I presume is the ability to read the future, but that isn't completely fully fleshed out yet. I think I recall something in the last few episodes that Anya apparently can talk to animals, right? Her psychic abilities to read minds actually extends to animals as well. So I guess that's how, we're going to get into the entire communication aspects of everything. And the rest, well, actually I don't even know if we are going to get into the doggy arc right away, but I presume that's what's going to happen, considering they kind of also switch things up a little bit at the end of the season. I guess in order to make time directly for this arc, right? So without further ado, let's get into the episode. Alrighty, let's begin in 3, 2, 1, play. And of course, we gotta go through like the entire thing once again. Reintroduce us to the series, right? By the way, I heard that even like, all the way in the manga, we still don't really have any development between, uh, you know, Twilight and Yoru. Which makes it kind of sad, actually. Because even though, like, this sort of, like, fake relationship thing has been done before, I still feel... Oh, actually, hold that thought. We are into the opening here. I mean, I'm sure it's probably a famous Japanese band. I'm not just quite sure which one it is. Oh, No Name is still doing the music. They're a great group, by the way. Oh, Bump of Chicken, eh? They are quite popular in Japan. Although I guess they are considered a little bit of an... I mean, they're not like the hippest band nowadays, but still, they have a huge following. Ooh, nice. I think Bump's music actually fits this very well. I mean, the overall feel of the series, anyways. Especially since it's not so much really about, you know, the spy aspects and whatnot, but I guess more so towards the sort of like concept of the family. Hello, Anya. Wait, I thought you couldn't cook. Hmm. She's excited about something. Oh, she. Yep. Of course. Yeah, you probably shouldn't. Hmm. But the dog they actually want is actually in the dog pound, right? You know, beyond just being an award for Anya, like I've mentioned before, but and like I said before, right? Especially playing into sort of like, oh, okay, I see. It's like no. Yeah, she's reading their minds right now. As I was saying, so I mentioned this before in season, sorry, not season one, the first core as well. So I do like the idea that, you know, having a dog in this family, like not only just for, okay, not only just for, you know, actual purposes, like people love dogs, right? But again, playing into the entire concept of having the ideal Western family, right? You know, in the 60s and 70s, I feel like the concept of the sort of like model American family or model Western family did include having a dog as well. I feel like having sort of like a work excuse would be better than this. Like, just say one of his patients has an emergency or whatnot. I mean, taking a shit for like what must be at least a couple hours is kind of really pushing it. Yeah, it's this way. Oh, is this fake or real? Kind of feel like it's fake actually. Yeah, it's fake. Explosive? Hmm. Yeah, but they gotta be trained though. Yeah, as Lloyd says. Not to mention, like, typically the breeders or trainers in the military that are in charge of, training the war dogs, they grow quite attached to them, as one might expect. So they would definitely not be okay with training their dogs to basically be suicide bombers. I mean, I say that, but obviously, for the purpose of ideology, anything can go. It's this one, right? Oh, he's gonna save him. Yeah, the dog definitely has the power of precognition. Ooh. Ooh. Rabbits and guinea pigs as well. Ooh. Yeah, that's definitely cute. And he's like, it's her! Yeah. Yeah, so that's why, because he can predict the future, right? So basically, by the end of this arc, they're gonna welcome him into the family, and we're gonna see that once again. How we She's like, how can I go about this? Oh, running off once again. And so today is literally the day of the assassination. So probably what's going to happen is they're going to stop the assassination. And we're probably going to see Lloyd and Yoru in action once again. Yeah, Anya's going to get kidnapped, isn't she? By the way, I don't... If this is... If this is playing into sort of like the, you know, the split of East and West Berlin, right, between the West and the Soviets, I feel like it's probably not appropriate to call them far right. Maybe radicals or extremists would be more appropriate. So how are you gonna get out of this, Anya? Nope. Come on, Anya, run! Oh, you can't hit him, I'm guessing. Although, maybe his precognition doesn't really work all that. He does seem to be a little bit old, though. Poor Yoru, she's always... she's always being a part of Anya's shenanigans. Okay, okay. I know why that was just so funny to. Uh, I think you should definitely be trying to search around first, though. It's gonna turn out it came from the adoption center. Oh, no, actually. Both sides actually did some experiments on this. I think the most famous one is actually dolphins, like weaponized dolphins. I can't quite remember like where I read about that, but I think that was the one that went the furthest out of all of these different experiments. Mhm. Oh, what is this? Okay, so she can't actually talk with the dog, but nope. Where's the girl and the dog? Oh, damn. Dang, this dog, for being an old age dog, quite agile. Hmm. I do have to wonder if Anya and the doggo actually went into maybe a same project? Go! In all honesty, like, this Keith guy is... like, who would believe in, like, the ramblings of a child, especially one that likes to watch, like, spy programs? See? Hmm? Of course. Of course Anya is an adrenaline junkie. Oh, and here comes Yoru. Into the wall. Yeah, of course. Don't you dare lay a hand on my daughter. Ooh, I like this ending. Ah, there's a dog. I wonder what the dog is going to be called. Oh? Who are you? Yama. Yeah, I really like this ending song actually. Oh, that looks so good. A glass of wine as well. Damn. Yeah, I love it. All three of them living their own lives. Eh? Okay, I'm not gonna be watching the this part. So, anyways, see you guys after this. Well, alright guys, that was a return to Spy Family, and, we picked up right where we left off, right? Everything that we love about the characters definitely still here, and this is a pretty serious arc as well. It's a multi-episode arc, in fact. I don't know how long it's gonna be. I'm assuming it's gonna be more than 2 episodes, otherwise I feel like it could have fit into the end of last season, but who knows. So we did get a little bit slight reintroduction to characters, nothing too serious, and we're right now right into the plot here, right? So I do feel that it's a little. I do love that they are taking some. So one thing I do love about the series is that it's still somewhat historical based, right? And it's somewhat based on real world spy stuff or military stuff. Now obviously they sort of kind of exaggerate a lot of things. I go to a lot of the stuff in the first cour as well. Some stuff that is definitely very over exaggerated and whatnot. We're not really supposed to look at this series with a very serious attitude, right? But it's what I like to do, and especially those who have already seen through the first cour with me should probably know that as well, right? So let's talk a little bit about this concept of war dogs or bomb dogs, right? It's interesting here because they mentioned that this was being carried out by the former government of the East Side, right? Which would imply that if we are going to use a parallel with this current situation to the real world, you would expect this would be to be West and East Berlin, and for the powers at hand to be the West and the Soviets, right? Although them saying former government would imply that it's Nazi Germany instead. But as far as I know, or in fact, the ones who really did weaponize animals were actually the Soviets, right? So I actually quickly went and checked about this because I wasn't quite sure about this as well. But it checked out the ones who were using the dogs were the Soviets instead because and during the early stages of World War II they were getting their asses kicked by the Nazis. So it was kind of like an all hands on deck kind of situation. So they tried to do everything they can, anything that could help alleviate the situation, right? It's every man, every being to fight, and so in that kind of aspect, right, you would consider this to be. I think it's to them it would be much more justifiable to say, hey, we're gonna sacrifice some animals because it's literally the life and death of both yourself and your country, right? It's definitely not an easy thing to be training animals to go towards their deaths. Like I mentioned, the actual trainer problem is a very significant problem. I feel like I've read this numerous times before in various different works in very different pieces of literature. I mean, actual nonfiction, not like fictionalized literature, and that those that have the job of training animals in these sort of like war situations or espionage situations, they grow very attached to those animals, and it's not really easy for them to just view these animals as expendable assets and send them to their deaths, right? So indeed, I was reading. I would quickly refresh my knowledge on this, just a quick curiosity Google and whatnot, and it turns out like even for the Soviets, even even those times of desperation, they tried to do it in more of a just a bomb delivery and quickly get out kind of situation rather than suicide bombing. So apparently the dogs were supposed to carry the explosives onto the underside of say for instance a tank, leave the explosive there and then run back, and then the explosive would either be timed or it would be remotely detonated, right? But it didn't really work that way, and so they just decided to make it into sort of like a suicide bombing instead, wasn't really effective, as one might expect. You know, dogs, and indeed animals in general, they're not really, you can't really condition them to run towards certain death, right? And even if they don't have the capability to recognize that they're carrying a bomb on themselves, you know, it's not really easy for them to run into gunfire and heck, moving like vehicles and whatnot, right? And so that's what I might expect. Well, I was reading through it and it's quite funny. So one of the common problems they encountered was that the dogs would go out, they'd get scared by all the gunfire and fighting and whatnot, and instantly run back. And if you don't actually have a remote detonation device and it's like timed, or if it's you know, on impact or whatnot, you're basically blowing yourself up. So that's why it never really panned out in the end there, as expected. And you know, that's I'm trying to go through this without, you know, taking into, you know, feelings and, oh, they're the doggy's so cute and whatnot. Like, let's look at this from a more objective kind of perception here. It's just not really a good thing, both from the actual like logistical aspects of it, the practical aspects of it, nor from the like the morale aspects, and you know, the simple situation of you can't really find trainers who are willing to do this kind of thing. So what I'm trying to get here, though, is that I feel like probably, I wonder, though, because are they really going to be, are they really implying that the former government, like, really trained the dogs to like, directly become suicide dogs? I kind of sort of feel like probably they were looking at something else, right? Like some sort of, I don't know. I hesitate to say this, but maybe even some sort of mind control device. Considering they were there trying to, you know, enhance the intelligence of the animals and whatnot, and indeed even developing psychic abilities in a few of them. I do wonder if it's really purely for a, you know, if it's really purely for a suicide bombing kind of training that they go through, and maybe, you know, there is a little bit more throughout all this as well. And definitely I'm suspicious of this because, you know, we have a dog who literally has the ability to foresee the future, right? It's a psychic dog, right? So that definitely lets me believe that there's probably a little bit more to the story that we're going to go into. I don't know. Like, this is just pure speculation here, but I would feel that it would be much more appropriate if there was a little bit more in regards to the dog and its backstory and the entire, you know, Project Apple, I think is what they call it, right? As a whole. Indeed, I think there's a little bit more to the entire situation here. So that's my whole take on the sort of dog bombing dog kind of situation here. And I indeed remembered correctly, you know, weaponized dolphins. You know, it's quite a thing because I read that like a few years ago, and it was just so fascinating to me how, you know, because dolphins have high intelligence, so they're really good at you know, reconnaissance missions and whatnot, and nobody would suspect like marine wildlife, right? So I think that was one of the most successful programs related to you know, utilizing I guess more advanced usage of animals. I mean, obviously war dogs have been used throughout centuries already, to be honest, and we got horses as well, but those are mostly for, you know, you have a general idea of what they're supposed to be used for, right? You know, dogs, you have attack dogs, guard dogs, search and rescue dogs, minesweeping dogs, etc., etc. But you know, stuff that is even, I guess, a little bit non-conventional. Definitely, dolphins ranks pretty high up on the list there. I seem to recall something regarding birds as well, but I can't remember. Anyways, that's kind of beside the point here. But anyways, moving that aside, so what about the rest of the episode, right? So in regards to entire plot, is there something more implied there? I don't know. Like, one thing that I'm kind of curious about, though, is who exactly they are supposed to be representing. So they call them isolationists and whatnot, but I'm not quite sure, like, because originally my thinking was that they were from the east, right? The foreign minister from Westalius came here, and so he's attending some kind of like peace meetings. So obviously, you know, some radicals from the east, they will try to blow him up and incite war. But I'm thinking, like, because they mentioned far right, so I'm kind of wondering if actually these students here are actually radicals from the West instead, and instead they are trying to incite war because they don't want to have this sort of like balance between the West and East. Now, I always call it West and East because the naming of the East, like Ostarius or whatnot. You know, I never remember how exactly to pronounce it. Um, so that's why I just go directly with that. Ostania, yeah, that's what it's called, Ostania. It's just easier for me to call it the East. So what I was saying here is, so perhaps the reason why the anime calls them far right is because they're actually Westalia's citizens, and they just simply want to incite a war, right? And so they're willing to sacrifice their own prime minister in order to do it. That could also be possible, I guess. I'm not 100% sure about that, but you know, in any case, in either direction it goes, it's not exactly a good thing, right? So they're still gonna have to stop it regardless. But see, even because they're using research and other stuff from the East, but I guess they did say that they could be being incited by some mysterious benefactor, right? Because they are getting their supplies and intel from somewhere else as well. So it could also be a possibility that it's being orchestrated by somebody in the Ostania, like foreign intelligence agency or military agency, and you know, inciting some rebellious attitude or radicals inside the Westalia's students or whatnot, and you know, that kind of thing, because that's also a common thing that happened during the Cold War as well, right? When we talk about although I guess not directly in terms of this kind of aspect, but in sort of like flaming, you know, inciting the flames and causing them to cause chaos and whatnot. That's definitely something that I could totally see a military agency or intelligence agency doing. So yeah, at this point in time, I think maybe that's what they were talking about, right? So probably the mysterious benefactor is, you know, it is being orchestrated by somebody within Ostania or some organization within Ostania, but they are targeting like Westalia's students in order to carry out this assassination plot and throw everything into chaos, right? And then obviously it would be blamed still on Ostania, and you know, the end result is still war. But would that actually make sense though? Yeah, I guess if your only you know, thing that you want to get out of it is for both sides to break out in war, I guess it doesn't really matter who comes out on top, right? Or at least, you know, in terms of this assassination and who it's exactly blamed on. So yeah, although that raises up another interesting question, right? Would this mysterious benefactor also be some sort of like rogue organization within Ostania, or you know, is this actually government sanctioned, right? That's also another interesting thing. So you know, we basically have three different possibilities here. It could be somebody in Westalius, a rogue element within Westalius that's inciting this and pushing for just kind of like you know, radicals on the Westalius side pushing for war. We know it's not official because I believe Lloyd and his agency, it's called Wise, right? It's supposed to represent the official stance, the official governmental stance of Westalius, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. And whereas Ostania, we're not quite sure. So it could be government sanctioned, it could be radicals working in there as well. So, you know, I guess we'll just have to see. And maybe that's one of the reasons why this is a multi-episode arc. Beyond that, you know, not really too much else to talk about here. I mean, some of this stuff is quite obvious, right? Like Yoru coming in, being a badass and whatnot. Although, you know, I guess one thing to note here is that I am thinking like, what's the next step here, right? Like Yoru has shown up to the place, and obviously she's going to kick everybody's ass in hand-to-hand combat, right? So what's the next step, right? Why isn't the story stopping just here? Like what is up the sleeves of Keith and these other guys and whoever is behind them? You know, I feel like that's probably the crucial part for this particular arc here, and not just what we see at this point. So I'm expecting this to go deeper, but we shall see. Anyways, thank you guys for coming back here, and yeah, hopefully we will have another awesome season of Spy Family. Stay tuned, guys. Bye bye.